My name is Ryan Presley, and my dad's family is from top end Northern Territory, Moyle River country. It's my work, the Blood Money Currency Exchange Terminal, and it's bringing together works I've done over the past 12 years or so, and reproductions of large paintings I did, reworking Australian banknotes, and bringing them all together to make our own sort of exchange booth that people can trade up and trade in their Australian money for blood money dollars. It functions similar to money exchange, so you can come along and interact with the booth and the staff here and trade in your Australian money for various denominations of the blood money notes. So it basically works as a play on the art industry as well as the way the art market functions, and people can, and democratizing that in a way, people can come to art gallery and take away a limited edition print and artwork, and that also works because all the funds go to sort of local community organizations. So all the money that is transferred in and traded in is distributed between Southside Education, Sisters Inside, and the Murray School. At the time when I was naming it, I was thinking of a few things, So blood money used to be referred to like a payment of like compensation for murder in sort of European culture, and so I was interested in that idea of like reparations, compensation, but then like looking at Australian money in particular, like blood money is like it's money that derives its value from colonial occupation and extraction. So it's like money made from our blood in a way, our country and our own labour as well. The various things that money is used to mean to be a quantifier of time, labour, various resources. So yeah, the background of the project with the blood money, and then how that's been channeled into Australian society now, and that's through the frontier, through warfare and subjugation. Looking at banknotes and monetary history, coinage, how it's tended to spring up in places around the world via conflict, and then sustained with conflict. It springs up in places where people don't trust each other typically, where people can make easy transactions and move along, at least in sort of longer history. So thinking about that idea, and then our own heroes that fought in the various frontiers on the continent in various times, and then through various means, not only through violence but through activism and agitation, confrontation of the government, and that sort of thing. So I look closely at like who's on our banknotes now, who's published, who remains published, because the RBA recently reworked all the designs and that, but kept all the same people on there. So there's like Marri Ngarr on the $20 note, who became really sort of opulently wealthy off ports and shipping in tandem with the British East India Company and that sort of thing. Very colonial enterprises. I think they still have her buildings like heritage listed in the Sydney ports that she owned. And then like looking at Walia or Taranarera from the northern coast of Tasmania, who lived a life like a mirror life to that, was kidnapped by the people working the ships, by whalers, held hostage as a slave, and in that sort of scenario. And then worked her hardest to understand people that were holding her captive, and then use that against them. So she coordinated the other women on the boat to steal all the arms and supplies, successfully escaped the ship on one of the sort of dinghies, lifeboats, and went back to northern Tasmania, and then trained up surviving sort of people there. So like dispelling like a whole lot of myths and ideas I've grown up with that people talk about through my experience that I've grown up with. Like big one, thinking this work is Aboriginal people didn't resist, you know, encroachment and the British and all that sort of thing. So really looking at that and heroes of that time and era, and that people that defended their own sort of livelihoods and their own families. You know. A lot of companies, manufacturing companies, didn't want to touch it. They were too scared of being contacted by federal police and that sort of thing for counterfeiting. And it's interesting because, I mean, if you look closely at the notes I've made, there's only like hints of the Australian money. There's very small elements relating to it. Most of it's been totally redesigned or replaced. So it, to me, doesn't even fit into a counterfeiting idea. And I didn't want it to be a counterfeit. I wanted it to be its own thing, you know, a parallel or a contrast or contesting sort of vehicle, yeah.